The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in the cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to REP Paranormal and Friends with your hosts,
Kim Purvis
and Allison Robinson. Make sure to check us out on our Facebook pages, REP Paranormal and Friends and REP Paranormal Busters, for up-to-date show information and events. Hey everyone, welcome to REP Paranormal and Friends. We have a special guest for you. Is an author, founder of ElkValley Paranormal in southern middle Tennessee. Please welcome Cyn Shrader Hill to the show. Welcome.
Hi, Allison. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that I finally was able to get you on here.
Yeah.
So I know that you had been, there we go. My computer's doing weird things. There we go. So I know that you have a background in paranormal, but you're also an author. Do you want to kind of tell us, how did you get into the paranormal, and then how did you come up with your books? And then we'll kind of dive into your new book as well.
Yeah. The author was kind of after the fact.
Uh-huh.
I knew I always wanted to write something, but I didn't know what that was going to be when I was little. And I fell into the paranormal as well, but I grew up being sensitive without knowing it. I didn't know what was going on. Mm-hmm. And things would be happening and I would sense things. I would have panic attacks over them, just craziness like that. Mm-hmm. So anyway, in 2001, my dad died, and it was sudden. We didn't expect it. My cousin had a group come down and investigate her art studio, and I was like, "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? I would have been there." Because I was watching every show I could. I wanted to have a paranormal group. Didn't know how to go about it. Mm-hmm. Wanted to be in one. Didn't know where to find one. It was just one thing after another, and I was so interested in it. Mm-hmm. So finally, she put me in touch with these people. They came down and investigated my mom and dad's old auto parts store. Mom and my sister tried to keep it going after he died. Mm-hmm. And being two women that ran the place, men just didn't want to come in as much as O'Reilly's or, Advance, right. Mm-hmm. Even Walmart or whatever. And my sister is smart when it comes to vehicles. And she could tell you exactly what was going on. But still, it just didn't work out. So they ended up closing it. And when this team came down to investigate, the utilities had been turned off at least 2 years prior. So there was nothing on in there. Oh, wow. My husband had cleaned everything out. It was gutted. And so there was nothing in there, nothing. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up being the trigger object that evening to try to get my dad to come across. So I just was standing in the dark the whole night talking, talking to nothing. Right. And interestingly enough, they got 2 EVPs, but they took a break. This was one of the best things that happened. They took a break, and two of them were checking their cameras over in the corner. They were busy. I was talking to my husband on the other side. It was all open in there, so you could see everybody. The other three had gone outside for a smoke or something. A rock got thrown.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, no, you can't take a break. I'm ready to talk. I'm trying to talk to you guys. Get back in here. And so they went running outside and said, you guys need to come back in. It's starting. It is starting.
Wow. Wow.
So interestingly enough, the only place their meters or anything actually lit up with energy was exactly the spot that my dad's chair had sat for so many years. Yeah. And then the EVPs they got, one was this strange holy mackerel, which nobody in my family ever said. And, that's kind of an old saying anyway.
Right. Yeah, it is.
This was an old building, so it had been several different things. The basement had actually been a turkey slaughterhouse in the 1800s, late 1800s.
Wow.
So the other EVP they got was turkeys gobbling.
Oh, gosh. That's an interesting one.
Right? So I was hooked. And they asked me to be a part of their group. So I came on as case manager, finding them places. And I knew the whole time I wanted my own group. So they trained me. I was with them a few months, and then I stepped off, created my own. And then after meeting a couple of people, especially Mark Elliott Fultz, he's the one that does the drawings in my books and the covers.
Oh, nice.
He's a psychic. Yes, extremely talented. And I love him to death. He's a great person. So he was talking to me and asking me if I would help edit his books. And I was sure. And I was talking to him about a couple of things. And he said, you need to write your book. And I said, how did you know I wanted to? He said, why do you ask that of a psychic? He just knew.
Yeah.
And he goes, you've got some things to tell. Get on it. He says, it's time. And so in 2018, I wrote my first book.
Very awesome. And then which one was your first book?
The first one was Whispers.
Okay.
Whispers in the Dark. Yeah. True ghost stories. It was 23 short stories. And that's all I write. I just do short stories. 23 short stories, most of them here in this county involving me, my team, my friends. And then there's only 5 that are outside this county. 2 of them are in Lynchburg, Tennessee, which is home of Jack Daniels.
Oh, yeah.
So it's right down the road. But he just got me started. Now, the first book I wanted to write was actually the third one, but I couldn't figure out how to make them book together just to see if we could do it. And we did. And then this third book was They're Speaking, Are You Listening? My Most Compelling EVPs. That's the one I really wanted to be number 1, but I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do, how to get it across. And so when I wrote it, I fixed the website in the evidence section that you can go and on the drop-down menu, pick They're Speaking. And as you read the book, you can go through and hear all of the EVPs I'm talking about.
Oh, that's cool.
So
I haven't checked that one out yet. Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm going to check that out. Yeah.
There's over 100 there. And some of them you can hear spot on. Just classic EVP, just classic Class A, just really clean. And then there's a lot of them that you're going to have to listen to over and over. So your listeners, if they're listening and want to go to the page, make sure you tell them to wear those earbuds or wear the headphones, and they'll be able to hear just a little cleaner. But they still might have to listen 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. That seems to be the case with a lot of EVPs. I find some that are almost like a whisper, but then you get those ones that actually sounds like somebody is really in the room with you, and those ones are just like, oh my gosh. But sometimes, even though they sound like they are in the room with you, sometimes it's still kind of hard to depict what they're actually saying. Have you found that out? Like, have you had one that was just like you and me talking, but you still can't quite figure out exactly what they're saying?
Yeah, there was one, my team member, Matthew, he's the one I consider my ghost magnet. They just seem to follow him and find him. He is just like a beacon. And Matthew and I were asked to help with a public hunt over at Hell's Bar Dam. So we were sitting in the crossroads one night. Mark was doing seances on the other side near where the turbines were and everything. And then a second group was down the hall from us showing how to use different equipment. But our job that whole night, I think they had 3 or 4 groups actually come through, big groups. But we had to show how we caught EVPs. What, what to do. So we did burst sessions. I kept one going the entire time. About I can't remember if it was the second or the third group. I kind of think it was the third group. Matthew and I had just started talking to them, and we were telling them, I need you to be really still. Find you a spot you can be comfortable with, because even a little swish of material will come across as sound, and it could be, misconstrued as a spirit. So be very, very still. Go ahead and clear your throat. If you fart, please claim it.
That's right.
Just go ahead. Just say, that was me. I'm sorry. But let us know so we don't think it's a spirit.
That was a demon growling.
No, that was a fart. So we were telling them this, and all of a sudden, right between us, we hear
Oh,
and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he said, "Did you hear that too?" And I said, "Yeah." It was some grumpy old man standing right between us, and of course we couldn't see him. But when we did a playback, he said, "I want to get justice."
Oh. Wow.
Now, we couldn't understand it at the time at all. It was so, fast, and he was so direct with it. I want to get justice. So anyway, that was what the EVP was. The cleanest one I've ever gotten that was not a whisper just happened back in February.
Oh, okay.
So, and it has to do with this new book.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you want to hear about that?
I do. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So I started writing this 4th book on it just got thrown in my lap, because I was writing ghost stories. I was writing scary and spooky stuff. And God put it on me that I needed to write something about our loved ones that we have lost, and signs that they bring us, and pennies from heaven, redbirds in the yard, all that kind of stuff, feathers, whatever. Even ghostly visits, deathbed visits, near-death experiences. So that's what this 4th book was.
Yes.
And it was totally different. And I started it in 2020. And then I lost my motivation. I don't know if it was COVID.
Right.
I don't know. I just lost motivation. So I quit writing, and I had wanted to bring it out that Easter. Didn't happen. Didn't happen the next Easter. I'm visiting my friend in town that I get sage from, Valerie. And Valerie goes, "How's the book coming?" And I said, "It's not. It's just not. I can't get back into it." And she said, "When were you supposed to bring that out?" And I said, "Easter 2020. And she said, "And it's, you know what?" I said, "Well, yeah, then it was going to be the next Easter." She said, "You've got a month before Easter now."
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, that's not going to happen." She said, "You can do it. Do it. Do it." So she kind of gave me the little kick I needed to get started back into it. So within the next week and a half, I banged out 17 stories. 17 of them.
Oh, wow.
I had had stories come in from all over the country, from old coworkers all the way out in Washington State, Maine, Texas. They're all over the place. I even had a girl write in one from England about her grandfather and his cat. And so, and there's animal stories in this one too, about them coming back to visit. And so anyway, I got the role going again. Everything's coming together. And then the unimaginable happened to my family. We lost my nephew.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He was only 19 and a half. He was my mini-me.
Mm-hmm.
I was training him to be my videographer.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He would do everything I like to do. You know, the stuff that my husband didn't want to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I could call Wyatt and I'd say, Wyatt, there's a murder mystery. I'm down. Let's
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Or he'd call me and go, Aunt Cindy, I'm thinking Olive Garden. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that sounds pretty good. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, he was just my buddy, and God, I miss him so much. So when we lost him in an accident,
Mm-hmm.
you know, everything just stopped
Mm-hmm.
again. It just, everything stopped for everybody in the family.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the only grandchild. He was the only son.
Oh.
My sister wasn't supposed to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And 5 miscarriages later,
Gosh.
she has Wyatt.
Yeah.
And then she only gets to keep him for 19 and a half years.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, he had a lot of love packed into that 19 and a half because he could talk to anybody about anything and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the most talented person I know. Long story short, he has visited his mother so many times, of course, checking on her because it was them by themselves. And he's checked in with my mom, the only grandmother, you know, that was her only grandson. And finally, I kept saying, why won't you come to me?
Mm-hmm.
You know I love you. Why won't you come to me? And I think it's because I wanted it so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Finally, I was getting my sister to tell me a story that was actually going to go into the sequel for this book.
Okay.
Yeah. And so she was telling me a story, and fast forward. Let me back up just a little bit. After, I guess, about 4 weeks after he died, I'm like, oh, that's why I lost the motivation. This book's supposed to be for him. Mm-hmm. This book is Wyatt's book. And so I wrote his story and put in it, and, you know, it was dedicated to him and all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. Got that book out. Mm-hmm. And then things kept happening. So my sister was telling me a story in February. I've not seen him yet. Mm-hmm. I felt him a couple of places, but, you know, nothing that I can say definitely that was him. Right. And so Susan was telling me a story that had happened, and I was recording it to go into the sequel. And 6 minutes and 42 seconds in, Wyatt speaks. It was just she and I. She was talking, telling me the story. The television was not on. The dog and the cat were both asleep. Yeah. And he says something to me.
Oh, my gosh.
It is the best EVP I've ever gotten.
Wow.
I don't know. I've got it on my phone. We can try to play it to see if you can hear it.
Okay.
You want to see?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. So my sister is telling me this story, and I'm recording it on my phone. Mm-hmm. And she's just talking, and there's a lot of, you know, I'm asking her questions throughout it to try to figure out, okay, a little bit more. So you're going to hear her talking.
He loved to talk to her about cars and everything. And that's when then Josh said, your son's name was Wyatt, and he drove an El Camino. And I said, yeah. And then he said,
Did you hear that?
Then he said,
did you hear him?
Did he say, was that you that said, did you hear that? Or was that him?
That was him.
Holy cow. I heard that. That was loud and clear.
That is the clearest one I've ever gotten anywhere. And he does those 2 little taps right before he said it.
I heard those taps.
Yeah. He did both of those. We never heard it at the time.
Oh, wow.
So I had just started transcribing. This was recorded February 23rd of this year. Mm-hmm. And I put it off. And then I started transcribing it last month. And when I got to 6 minutes and 42 seconds, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's Wyatt. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was boo-hooing. I went to the bathroom and beat on the door and I said, please tell me you're not in the shower yet. So Greg goes, what is wrong? I said, please come out here. You've got to hear something.
Yeah.
You've got to hear something.
Yeah.
And he thinks something is terrible wrong. Something's terrible. So he comes and sits down and says, what just tell me. Is it your mom? Is it your sister? No, I just need you to listen. And I played it for him without telling him anything. And when he heard it, he said, that was Wyatt. Yeah, it was. Nobody has doubted what is being said either.
Yeah. Oh, no. I heard that. And that was like, I was so in tune to listening to this that I didn't know if that was you asking me, did you hear that? But I heard, did you hear that? And I was like, that's why I asked you, but it was clear as day.
Yes, that is, and it's the most clear I've ever gotten. So we'll see how many, and if I'd been thinking, because EVP is what I do. That's what I work with. If I had been thinking, I would have already been checking and seeing if he had been talking anywhere.
Right. But, it just happens though. It happens. You just kind of forget sometimes. I don't think we've had one that clear before. The one that got me was at Edinburgh Manor. A couple years ago, we were down in the little boiler room area, kind of going down, and we had gotten a man's voice, and he was telling us to come down there or something. But when we were kind of going back, because we were like, something feels off, in my camcorder and on my recorder and one other girl's recorder, but the two in front of me didn't get it, there was a voice and it was talking really slow. Like it was like in slow-mo, but we can't figure out if it's saying something about cracking corn or a black hole. We can't figure it out, but it's super slow. And it was bugging me today. I was trying to find it, but I couldn't find it.
Is it more of a Southern voice or is it somebody talking really slow?
It's somebody talking really slow. It used to be a poor farm. So we're like, are they talking about cracking corn? Like, I don't know, but I've had so many debates on it. Some say the corn, like I'll just say, here's this, and I don't say, what it is. Yeah. And then I let people just kind of cipher it for themselves. But it's kind of like a 50-50 with people are hearing it.
If it's like the poorhouse down here, they had to raise their own food and everything. So, I mean, maybe they had to work in the corn. And up where you guys are, there's a lot of corn, right?
Oh, yeah. A lot. There's corn everywhere here.
Right. So I'm sure there was a lot of cracking corn going on.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I bet there is too. Now you said did you say that you're going to do a sequel to this book or are you
this one
on that now?
This fourth one has actually been my bestseller. And maybe because it's so different and it touched so many different people's lives, because after each story, I would put who it was in memory of, and they would give me, if they wanted to, the birth date and the death date. So we had a memorial. After each story. And so it really went over really well. And enough so that the ones that said they were going to get a story into me were like, dang, I should have done that. I tried to get you to write one. Yeah. So they're wanting to be in this second one. That's going to come out next year. I'm actually working on the next book, and it's going to be actually darker stories than I've done before. Some of those, not demonic, but just some of those creepiest places I've been, and those that after you leave, you want to take a shower.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You just feel, I got to get out of here,
Right. Yeah.
So it's those kind.
Now, between your writing, are you still doing some investigations as well?
Just a little bit.
Mhm.
It's mostly helping people. I had a real good friend reach out to me last night. They had just gone on vacation,
Mhm.
um, and they brought something back. They didn't
Oh.
mean to.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
didn't mean
Yep.
to. And what was odd is that she's very sensitive.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
this is my friend Joanne. She is very sensitive, and her husband
Mhm.
has been going along with her, trying to learn a little bit on how, how are you doing that? How do you feel this stuff? That
Mhm.
kind of thing. And so he's opened himself up a little bit. And this time it was a little bit too much. So
Mhm.
she went to a place, and I cannot remember. It was in Georgia somewhere at
Mhm.
a hotel.
Mhm.
And there was a woman that died and her child died as well.
Mhm.
And it was a lot of abuse there, and
Mhm.
they were trying to contact her and talk to her, and she said, um, don't be afraid of my husband. He's a good guy. He would have protected you if that had happened and he had seen it.
Mhm.
So he's one of the good guys. Don't be afraid of him.
Mhm.
Well, what I think happened, it's not this particular spirit that came with them, but
Mhm.
someone else that heard this.
Mhm.
And it was like, okay, there's my hitchhiker right there. I'm
There.
grabbing onto him and going home with him. And whoever this thing is,
Mhm.
has been causing them problems since he got home, since they
Oh.
both got home. And she hasn't felt a thing. So they
Wow.
put a block over her
Uh-huh.
so they can target her husband as their own.
Mhm.
And so we went through last night an extensive what you need to do and what you need to say,
Mhm.
and a meditation you need to do. I need you to do this in the shower, even, just
Mhm.
to protect yourself. And um, they went through everything that I told them. And she said, we can still feel it. And I said, or he could still feel it. And I said, well, I mean, there's a couple more things we can do, but
Mhm.
you're going to have to start protecting yourself every time you go on an investigation, every time.
Mhm. That's me.
Well, everybody needs to. They just don't know,
Uh-huh.
until something bad happens,
Mhm. Right.
because usually when you jump into this kind of stuff, you're skeptical.
Mhm.
Oh, that's never happened to me, that
Mhm.
kind of
Right.
thing. And so you go in unprotected
Mhm.
and open. Oh, I want to see something. I want to see somebody thrown up against the wall, or it's just something
Right.
outlandish, right? That you
Right.
see in a horror movie.
Yeah.
And basically our investigations are boring when you
Yeah, they
really
are.
think.
They are. It's like
You just
watching paint dry.
yeah, sitting in the dark. Was that tap? Was that something? Or was that,
Right.
whatever. So yeah, our investigations are boring, and they can't wrap their head around it. They want to see stuff.
Mhm.
So, and I think that's caused a lot of problems.
I think so
You
too.
know,
Uh-huh.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff floating around now in the last few years
Mhm.
because people haven't closed their investigations. They didn't know how to. They didn't know
Right.
they were supposed to.
Supposed to. Right. No, yeah, I've noticed that a lot of locations that we normally go to, the energy has shifted and you get some weird stuff going on in there that you didn't have before that you're like, eh, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't know what people are bringing in or what they're doing in these locations, and they're not doing it properly. And yeah, 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 yeah. But that's why, yep, I've got my crystals and I have to ground myself before. And if I start to feel something, I go outside. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
if you pray, you do prayers. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't pray, you white light or other
Mm-hmm.
things. And
Mm-hmm.
just always protecting. And what a lot of people don't understand is, people are scared of Ouija boards in
Oh,
particular.
uh-huh.
Well, when you think about it, a spirit box is a Ouija board,
Exactly.
you know? Yeah, yeah, exactly. And as long as you're safe
Right.
and know what you're doing, open
Mm-hmm.
and close it,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
got to say goodbye to these things
That's
and
right.
close your investigation completely.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they can keep popping through.
Right.
So,
We do a walkthrough through the buildings and stuff, and we thank them for letting us be in their space and things like that. But when we get ready to leave, we say that, thank you for letting us visit you in your space, but you have to stay here. You are not allowed to come with us. You have to stay here, and kind of end it that way. So we always say that before we leave. So that
yeah.
tends to work, but just one time it didn't really.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always going to be that one time that it doesn't
Uh-huh.
work.
Yeah, yeah. Oh well, it is what it is. But now, do you have a favorite location or anything that you've been to, or what's your most memorable?
Ah, the most haunted place I've ever been to is actually the hospital here. That
Okay.
the old hospital here, and it's crazy ramped up. It's closed right now to investigations of any kind, private or public,
Mm-hmm.
because of a city issue.
Yeah.
City wants their money, and
Mm-hmm.
it shouldn't be that way. It's private property now, but
Right.
um, you know, I just like to go to different places. There's
Mm-hmm.
some on my list, got a huge list. Like Sean, my co-founder, called
Mm-hmm.
me a couple of days ago and said, "Let's go to a witch cave." Neither one of us have been there.
Ooh,
We're in
yeah.
Tennessee. This is in
Yeah.
Tennessee,
I know.
and
I
so
drove by there. I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta stop there sometime.
did you stop?
No,
Did you stop?
it has a sign out saying they were closed due to water or something like that, like high water or
Oh,
something like that. So it's like bummer. Maybe next time.
ah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's what we're planning next. So
Ooh,
we'll see what happens.
that would be a cool one. Yeah, for sure. Now, where can before we start wrapping things up, where if people want to see what you're up to, do you have social media? I'm not sure where that
Yeah.
alerts blog.
I'm on I'm on Facebook, Cyn Shrader Hill author. You can also find me at ElkValleyParanormal.com. We've got a Facebook page, Elk Valley Paranormal. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on even Pinterest. You can find me on Pinterest.
Oh, hey, there we
And
go.
so, yeah, all of my books where you can
Yes.
find those on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
Yep.
self-published, and I put them together myself. Those are my books and my babies. Mark actually does the illustrations, thank goodness. So he's fabulous about the covers and the inside illustrations and things. So find those on Amazon, Cyn Shrader Hill. If you need to reach out to me for any reason, if you've got a story of a loved one leaving messages or coming back to see you, even an animal, a pet, send those to me. They will go in the book coming out in 2024, Signs of Beyond, the second book. So I'd be happy to hear those.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've been recently in the last couple of years I've had loved ones coming to me in dreams. And people that not even they were classmates coming to me that have
Oh,
passed.
wow.
Yeah, in the last 3 years.
Send those to me, Allison.
They're real short, but I've
That's
had a
okay.
couple, so yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. And for those that don't want to use their name, you can be anonymous.
Uh-huh.
And it is not a problem. That is not a problem. I can make up names. You can give me a made up name. I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I just want to hear your stories.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's one thing I've been wanting to do is start writing these down, like a journal of my dreams, because they've just been kind of weird, sporadic, and I kind of want to figure out if they have a meaning to them. So,
And they do.
Yeah, I just
They
don't know what it
do.
is.
They've got some, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just finding maybe somebody you can talk to explain them to you.
And see, that's what I was trying to do. Yeah, if you know anybody who's good at,
Mark.
dream analysis and things like that, like, interpreting those, yeah, that's something I've been wanting to talk about and also have, as a show, like do a show on too, because I've had a lot of people ask about us doing one, but I don't know how to interpret dreams.
Right.
So I was looking, so yeah. So if you know anybody,
Be on the lookout for that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just want to let our listeners know to please go check out Cyn Shrader Hill. Get her books on Amazon.com. The newest one is the
it's not goodbye, Cyn.
This is Signs from Beyond. Yes, I just had like a brain fart from that. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yes. So make sure go check it out. Beautiful book, beautifully done. Awesome guest. Love your stories. Can't wait to hear more from you. So yeah, everybody, thank you for listening to us. And like I said, please go check her out. Go check her books out on Amazon. You can find her on Facebook, Twitter. Are you on Twitter?
I'm not on Twitter.
Okay, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. Go.
Yeah.
Find her. If you can't find her, come holler at me and I will get you in contact with her. So thank you once again for joining me.
Thank you so much.
Yes, it was a pleasure talking to you.
It was great talking to you.